Hello, my name is Joffrey Wambach, and today I'm going to cover with you the procedures for licensure and the licensing board as a mental health associate in Washington State. Becoming a mental health counselor in Washington, we'll be focusing on the licensing process for the associate side right after you earn your degree from grad school. Your licensure paperwork will begin now, but the application process will officially be submitted after you receive your master's degree and you have a supervised practice in place. You will also need to complete an approved examination, i.e. the National Counselor's Examination for Licensure, or the National Clinical Mental Health Counseling Examination. Two quick documents that I will be giving out in the handouts are regarding the legislation for Washington are the Chapter 18.225 in the RCW and the Chapter 246-809 in the WAC WAC for the legal licensure background reference. That'll cover everything you need to know legally for this process. So one of the very first things we're going to be talking about here is how to obtain your initial credential. Once again, we're going to be saying that first we have our master's degree and we have to have our supervision in place before moving forward with the application process for the associative LMH in Washington. You will need to submit $35 for your fee to the Department of Health. The Department of Health will have about 4 forms for you to complete and deliver, and this number of forms is also dependent on where you've been living. There are, of course, background checks for the process. So our first form is called the Mental Health Counselor's Associative Supervision and Experience Verification Form, which is just a one-page form. You're filling out the top part with your basic information, your first, middle, last name, where you live. You then have your agency that you're going to be supervised with, filling out the second half of it. And then there's just going to be a quick space on here for your experience. So the fact that you're going to need either 36 months of full-time counseling or 3,000 hours of supervised postgraduate experience under the supervision of an approved licensed mental health practice practitioner. Those two things will be needed to be filled out in exact hours for this form, and the supervisor will need to sign off on it at the very end. And so that's the first form. The second form is, again, just a one-page form. This one's titled Your Credential Verification, and that one is completed just by yourself, and it's very basic. It's your full name, and then you include your credential number for your certification if you already have one of those going into this. Just sending that information on so they can tie all your personal information together for your form. Your third form that you will need to complete will be your Proof of Supervisor Verification form. This form's the easiest one for you to do. You just hand that off to your supervisor. They'll fill it off with their information, their credential numbers, their experience, and sign that off and give that back to you. And then finally, your fourth form will be your AIDS Education Training Attestation for the LMHC and the LMHC Associates. This is a mandatory 4-hour training that you will need to complete and have signed off on. And after making sure all your documents are completed and accurate, you will submit that documentation to the online application portal, which I will be showing here in just a minute. One of the main things to keep in mind right before we dive into that, to keep in mind with the licensing, is that it's renewed on your birthday, okay? So keep that in mind, that right before your birthday, your little present to yourself is going to be hopping onto the DOH website and paying the $25 renewal fee right before that day comes around. So we want to make sure we don't void that, or else we have to start the process for all that submission over again. So we got that all in place. I'm going to go ahead and flip us over to the online portal, what it looks like, and so we can get ourselves set up for that process. All right, so I'm going to go through the online application portal with you, and we're going to go ahead and be able to review that together. So if we start that up here.
Let's get started. First, sign in with your existing SAW account if you have one. If not, you can create an account by selecting Sign Up and entering the requested information. Many state services are offered through Secure Access Washington, so you'll need to add our portal to your account through the Add a New Service feature. Select the I would like to browse a list of services option, and from there, select the Department of Health in the list of agencies, and then click Apply next to the online application portal listing. To protect your information, we require users to complete additional identity verification steps as part of adding this service. Once your verification is complete, click the online application portal in your service list and click Continue on the transition page. The first time you access the service, you'll be prompted to provide information to determine if you have any existing records in our licensing database. This will quickly link your application with any existing records that we have for you. After that, you'll be redirected to the portal landing page. From here, you can start a new application or continue any saved applications. If you're not ready to submit your application in a single session, you can save it.
Which for us is going to also be the LMHC licensure specific.
Return up to 14 days from the day you started. While filling it out, keep an eye out for any required fields. The required fields are marked with an asterisk, such as the date of birth and personal data questions. After submitting your application, you'll need to pay the application fees. You may use a debit card, credit card, or electronic bank withdrawal. All payments are processed through a secure third-party payment processor. If you have supporting documents, you can upload them to the portal after you pay your fees. After uploading any supporting documents, you'll be redirected to the follow-up page. On this page, you can download a copy of the application for your records, along with any supplemental forms that were identified through the application process. This page also provides a list of any initial follow-up items and documents identified through the process you need to provide to complete your application file. After reviewing your application, Department of Health staff may contact you with additional questions. Be sure to check the email you provided for any follow-up emails. We look forward to receiving your application through the Department of Health online application portal. Thank you.
All right, so just following up pretty quick, I said before that you need to renew your license before your birthday. Quick addendum to that is if it's within 90 days of your birthday of your first application, that just cycles into the next year, and then also that every year before your birthday you need to renew your license with the DOH. So following up on that video, a couple quick notes. It can take anywhere between a couple weeks to a couple months for the Department of Health to get back to you on the status of your form and for it to be fully processed. So make sure that you're staying on top of that and that you're allotting enough time for your own planning purposes. You're going to want to reach out to the DOH to check your status on the application. You can do that at any time. They can also go through their website. If at any time you require assistance through any of these processes, I highly recommend using your supervision agency or professional organization. For a professional organization, I would highly recommend the Washington Mental Health Counselors Association. They've been helping provide a lot of this information for this video. It seems like by joining their organization, they also will offer free legal advice from their group attorneys, that they offer discounts on group trainings, access to annual conferences, and they can also provide expert advice on ethics and professionalism. One final agency just to compare that to is the Washington Counseling Associate, which looks like they provide discounted membership rates for those coming out of grad school, and access to counseling forums and conferences. So I would just recommend looking at what fits best for you before going and navigating through the mental health system. So now I'm going to go and pass this presentation off to the supervision video.